Counselor Accents Podcast. Two school counselors who love their jobs. Oh, and they happen to have Southern accents too. Bless their hearts.
I'm Laura Rancourt.
And I'm Kim Crumley. And together we are Counselor Accents, two school counselors who are in the trenches with you.
We know what you're going through because we're living it every single day. Kim, I can't help but notice that I can't see you.
Is it after 8?
It's after 8.
After 8, I shut down, and you know that.
Yeah.
After 7:30, I stopped talking to my family, and I go into undercover, if you will. And so you're just lucky that you're getting me at all at this late hour, middle of the night.
I thought maybe it had something to do with the fact that you don't actually have a computer right now.
Oh, well, you did catch me. I have pulled up, I have borrowed the iPad that belongs to my child because it was laying somewhere in the house. It's the only thing I have besides my phone. Yes, Laura, I left my computer at the meeting that was held today for administrators and counselors, and I left my computer, which seems to be now. I know everybody remembers the story we told about the officer that I fell in love with who called me and said, I have your computer.
Because he first called me.
Right. Lieutenant, what was his name?
I can't remember.
I never thought I'd forget him. And here I have forgot him. So I left my computer. And then 2 weeks ago, I called you from Montgomery, Alabama, because and that's a couple hours away from here. I was coming back from another place, and I went to this hotel that we stayed at when we spoke for the State Department, and I had to pick up my mirror in Montgomery.
This is not just any mirror. This is like a fancy mirror that when you get within a foot of it comes to life. It's like
it comes to life, and it says things like, you are beautiful. There can be no improvements made. Not really, but it does come to life. It was expensive. And so I had to go pick up my mirror, and now this is strike 3. This is where you go get the test, the brain test, because this is I leave something everywhere I go. And to tell you the truth, you don't know why it's so late I'm getting with you tonight. I lost my son's phone, or else he lost his phone, and we found it out by my parents' little chicken coop.
Oh my
so
goodness.
Thank heavens for that Find My iPhone. I wish I had Find My on everything. I have not recouped, pardon the pun there, my computer, but I'm very confident. I'm very confident.
Well, it's a church, so hopefully.
Yes, we had a meeting for our county at a local large church that
could house everyone.
Yes, so we had it there. So I'm thinking, since we had the meeting at a church, that no one will steal said computer. But if I see that pastor using the computer, I will bring it.
Mm. Mm. Well, and yeah.
You want to bring up more things I've lost? Is that what
I was going to, but then I thought, this isn't the time or place that.
No.
I mean, I don't need to spread out my data story right now on how I'm worried about you and how out of all the people in this world I could have been paired to work with, I get the one that is wonderful. So wonderful.
Would that I could be, but you're maybe a smudge better, but not much.
I'll give you that.
I would that one of us had been organized and not fly by the seat of our britches. Would one?
Well, I was talking to our assistant that is so wonderful, and we love her so much.
Because she is. Well, she does keep it together.
Yes. And I was telling her we've got a lot of decisions that we've got to make here in the next 5 minutes. Really, they should have been done already. And she's kind of waiting on us to make some of these decisions. And I had told her, I said, I cannot, like, I told her, you and I had spoken about 6 times in the past 24 hours in 2-minute increments. And that every time we get to a certain conversation that needs to be had to make some decisions, one of us has to go, whether it's somebody walks in or you were at the doctor's office.
There's a crisis. There's a
just
life.
It's life. And like I told her our schedule over the next couple of days and weeks. And she wrote back and said, y'all are so busy. I don't see how you keep it organized. And I thought, bless your heart, sweet Mary, that you would think that we're organized. She knows us better than that.
We do keep a lot of balls in the air, and they're still in the air.
They're still in the air, you're right. So we'll take the compliment. Thank you for calling us organized.
I just did. Yeah, I brought it full circle back around to
full circle.
We're the full circle. We're the most organized persons that I know.
Well, that could be true. So speaking of organized, I feel like that's a good segue into our topic for this podcast episode in a way. We are going to be talking to Sweety Patel, and she is going to be talking about how to, well, actually we found her from an article on ASCA, how to shine a light on your program. And I just feel like that requires a lot of organization to know what to highlight, how to run an effective program. So she's going to be talking about one of our favorite topics, and that is promoting your program.
So important. It is so important to promote your program. So we like to hear different ideas from different folks.
Yeah. And you always say, if we're not talking about our program, if we're not telling others what we do, then people are going to assume they know what we do. And
you know what they say about assuming.
You know what they say.
I'm not going to repeat it because you usually cut it out anyway.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Okay, here we go. Sweety Patel. Kim, you know how excited we've both been to have our guest on today. This all started, I think it's a funny story. This all started because we read an article in the ASCA magazine, and we were like, oh my goodness, this is so good. The title of the article was Shine a Light on Your Program. And we love talking about that. And, that's one of our soapboxes. And so we were like, oh my goodness, we need to get this person on the podcast. And we have a running list of guests that we would like to have. And you were on our list. We had just not asked you yet. Well, then we went to the ASCA conference, and I believe it was Matthew McLean brought you over, and we met you, we talked to you. And then we were like, you idiot. No, you're an idiot.
Why now? It looks like it's because of Matthew. It's not because of Matthew. It's because of the article.
You're a standalone.
But Matthew knows everybody. Matthew McLean knows, he is a counseling superstar. He knows everybody. And so that was just it. You know what? It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. But we had you in our clutches right there. And then we let you go. And we got back and we were like, what in the world? She was right there. So I'm just glad we could finally make it happen, and you graciously accepted, and we're so glad that you're here. So Sweety Patel, thank you for being with us today, and we're excited to hear from you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Let's just start with you telling us and our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I'm Sweety Patel, and I am the Director of School Counseling Services for Carteret Public Schools here in Carteret, New Jersey. I've had this role for 4 years. This is my 5th year starting. And prior to this, I was a school counselor for the Jersey City Public Schools in Jersey City, which is a large urban district. And I was doing that for 13 years. So a long time in education. I landed a school counseling job in Jersey City right after finishing my master's degree. And that was in the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, which is an amazing school counseling program. And it equipped me to take on the work of school counseling. And in Jersey City, I worked in a large comprehensive high school for 7 years. And then after that, I went to an alternative credit recovery / zero tolerance program for the district. So I was there for a few years, and then I wanted to try leadership. And after 4 years of interviewing, I finally got a directorship, and it's different, definitely different than being a school counselor, but I love the challenge of leading school counselors, and every day there's something different, and learning how administration works with school counseling is something that I'm growing into. I guess I can say.
Well said. Yeah,
yeah,
love that.
That is great. That's quite some accomplishments there. And so I know you're very proud of the work that you've done, and as you should be. So tell us a little bit about your article. Let's just jump in. And what was your inspiration behind your article?
So I really love writing. I've written articles for different school counseling, magazines and different education magazines and publications as well. And something that I wanted to do for ASCA, because I know obviously there's a big push for the ASCA national model, but it's very, very hard to actually demonstrate the model in your school or implement or use it. And I felt like I needed to, one of the things I do when I write, I often write because it's something that I need in my own life. And so I write so that I could research what I need and almost kind of jumpstart that for myself. So I felt like coming into this directorship, I felt that I really wanted to build a comprehensive school counseling program, which I'm still in the process of. I think that's kind of like a 5 to 10 year plan. But I felt like writing about it and kind of putting my vision down through an article, even though part of the goal is to inspire everybody else, the byproduct is to inspire myself, right? So I felt like if I research and really write out how to market a good program, that eventually I'll actually achieve that goal myself. And so that's kind of where it came from.
What you said is such an aha moment for a lot of people, and it was for me when I realized what you just said. If I want to know more about it, dig in there, write about it, teach about it. It is the greatest way of holding yourself accountable because you're being vulnerable and you're putting your work out there for others to see, whether that be speaking on a topic or whether that be writing about a topic. And that is, if I just encourage school counselors, if you are not writing, start with your own school system or your own school even. And write, we always say, what are you into right now? Because right now I am so into behaviors in the brain. So, but Laura knows me. So I'm digging in and I want to teach about that. I'm reading about it. And then in a month, or two, I may want to, from that, so it'll go in another path. And that's just how we grow, is to continue to learn. So I just think that was so powerful. I hate to interrupt you when you've got so much to say, but I love that you write because you needed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. That makes you passionate and want to do it because you want to know more.
Right.
So you don't have to be this expert, right? You've got to research it and then you know it.
Right.
So marketing is one of our favorite things to do because I am very much an extrovert. So I feel like that's right up my alley. Plus I love to design and all the things that you can take marketing to, but it's not just that. So what are some things, if you are a school counselor and maybe you've never thought about this, what are some things that we can rubber meets the roads that school counselors to do to market their programs?
So, I mean, these days, the biggest thing is our digital footprint, right? So I always encourage school counselors, anytime I do any sort of presentation at a conference, or I'm doing my own events at the schools, because I love doing events. That's like my passion for like the school. I often put that above all my other responsibilities, which is hard because as an administrator, I have so many other things that are not school counseling related. But whether it be events, whether it be anything that we're doing in the department, whether it be, my own stuff like presenting about research I've done or whatever else I've done, I always think social media is definitely the biggest way. And in my particular department, I have some veteran counselors who've been here for a while, who are kind of in like the guidance counselor, kind of like that mindset, just because they've been here and that's what it's been. I started with that too as a counselor. And then I have some new people that I hired, right, who are newly graduated and love social media. And so I try to like kind of use the new to help model it for the ones that have been here for a while. And social media with Twitter or X and our Instagram, we have obviously like our school ones, but I really try to promote our departmental ones, because I think like once parents start seeing it, once board members start seeing it, once our central office starts seeing it, teachers, students, other students, of course, too, they start really identifying who we are as school counselors. And it's at their most favorite thing, which is their phones. So, if they have to use their phones, I often believe like let them use it for something they're going to get something out of, whether it be scholarships that we post or our own events or things about colleges or just, anything. And it just, back when I first started, I had a little more control over it before I passed it on to the counselors. I tried to put like inspirational quotes and, things like that I would do as a counselor when I had a little bit more time. But social media is definitely one of the biggest ways to market our program. And I think as we do it, we often research other departments, in the county and in the state. And as we're seeing like the other schools do it, I like the competition. I'm like, look, they did that. Like, we need to kind of like, like, come on, we're not cool enough yet. Like, we need to get to it. And I feel like I'm that in between generation between the people who have been here for a long time and the ones who just graduated. So I can kind of like use myself to merge the two and fill in some generation gaps with social media. So
you are so brilliant. This is
it sounds like you're the right person for the job.
Yes,
it sounds like you are. You're respectful of what they know and training these and bringing them forward, because some people don't feel comfortable. And in the South, we have a hard time. We call it bragging ourselves. So we do a lot of talking about you're not promoting yourself. Get past the idea that you're promoting yourself. Even though this looks like I've got a crown, it is not a crown on my head. That is my glasses. You're not promoting yourself. You are promoting your program. And when your program is promoted, who wins? Your students win. You were talking a lot about, or I was picking up, because I've been a high school counselor, and it's very frustrating to parents when they know that this school is putting all the information out for the scholarships and all of the things. And then you have this school who really isn't doing as good a job. And that can be so frustrating because you want those kids to have those equal opportunities. So I do know for high school counselors, getting that information out to parents is so important, and it makes your program look good. What other reasons besides getting information for scholarships or for awards for high school? What are some other reasons that school counselors need to market their program?
So definitely one reason is to spotlight our students. Like, we use it a lot. And that's actually how we gain more followers, is because we promote our students. So if students win awards, if students get, any sort of recognition, like today we had someone who got something through this American Legion's Boys State Conference, and he's like the governor for that program for New Jersey. It's something that we can highlight. Recently, I got an email about like college boards, like the national, I forgot what it's called exactly, but it's like their national recognition programs, and they have it for underrepresented groups, and we have about 6 students that won. So that's something, and a lot of these programs have their own little toolkits, so we don't have to reinvent. We can use their templates and just kind of post it, but it's coming through our department. So, again, the competition, that healthy competition, like where students almost are on social media instead of like looking at Snapchat for fights, which is something that happened earlier this week. We can combat that. Like as the school counselors, we can combat that. Here's a positive piece of social media and highlighting students who are doing great things that could maybe influence the rest of the population. So almost having the students, using social media for peer influence, and for them to applaud each other, instead of putting each other down, which is that other side, with bullying and things like that. So it's almost like using social media as like a positive weapon, right? And trying to find a way to do that. And then the other thing is, again, like the way I use writing, I feel like social media is a good way for counselors to figure out what's missing, right? Like, so if they're like, well, what do I post about? Well, then what, it makes you think like, well, what are you not doing that you need to? Mm-hmm. And maybe examples from other places or other districts or other counselors, will kind of inspire you to figure out what you need to post about. Because we do have people on staff, some are very comfortable and some do not want even their picture taken, even if it's like a staff picture and posted. And then there's me, who I put everything out there. And, to me, it's like my husband says it all the time. He's like, I know you're just doing this so you can post it on social media. And I'm like, yeah. So like, what's wrong with that? Like, I inspire people. It's all positive. Like, we need that. Like, everyone needs that. So there's nothing wrong with it. I feel like it's there. It's free, and all ages are using it, and people like it. So why not? Why not? Why not?
Use it for your programming. Use it for and you mentioned something about the ideas that you get, and I just want other counselors to make sure they hear that. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I remember we had a high school counselor that was so good at how she kept everything posted the way it looked. Everything was just, and there's so many examples that you can just Google different schools and look at what they're doing. And so you don't have to really, it's okay to take somebody else's ideas and I'm not saying copyright. I'm talking about look and see what you like and what is it about their presentation they're like. What is it that you like that they're doing? What is it that you like that they're saying? Mm-hmm. And I like that you shared that it doesn't have to necessarily be something that you've just brought out of the blue. This could be something that you're picking up, that you're looking at.
Right. And one of the things I found, which I try to tell, especially my new counselors, because they're just new in the field, is I often use social media to like network. Like once I discover a new idea from someone, it's beautiful because you can just connect with them right away, that person. And I've met people physically after like connecting with them, different counselors, different administrators. And I often tell the counselors that like use that, like you can connect with people from the New Jersey School Counselor Association or ASCA or anywhere, like international people. And it's like professional networking, like using the internet for something that's good. And it'll help you with your job because we're not doing everything perfectly here. And there's like probably a lot of great ideas with the same sort of demographic and population. So, take advantage, make new friends. Like, why not,
Absolutely. And that networking is just more people. And also, the Facebook groups and the different school counseling groups, and there's all, that can be broad, or you can to rural school counselors or these groups that are out there to talk to.
Well, it is so important because one of the things that we hear all the time is this job is so lonely. You're the only school counselor in your building sometimes. And so having that network is so valuable whenever you think about how isolating this job could be. Plus the heavy stuff that we deal with every day, it is nice to have that network.
Yes.
So besides social media, do y'all do any kind of branding or a certain look, or is there anything in the marketing area that you go down that, or is that something you just leave for your counselors to decide?
I kind of leave some of that stuff for the counselors, but also part of the district strategic plan is branding. One of their goals is to rebrand. We're the Ramblers, Carteret Ramblers. Our whole thing is Ramblers Rise. Like that's our part of the district vision. So in order to not be like in that silo and that isolation, I try to always tell my central office, personnel that like the counselors are part of the district. Like we don't want them to work separately. So if they have a strategic plan, it's I almost want to intertwine ours into theirs. So anything that has to do with rebranding for the district, that's what I'd like to imprint onto the department too, because I think that it gets you away from that isolation, right? It takes away a lot of those negative perceptions that the counselors have, which they still have in this district and this town. And it also, it's almost like the counselors are kind of like this extra layer beyond the district, right? So it's like we have this brand, the Ramblers Rise, and then the counselors are like this other piece. They're a department that does this for that plan. So I hope that makes sense, but it's almost like we brand, but we don't brand separately. We brand in conjunction with the district mission, which I think is really important because I'm working towards like the ASCA model and all that. I know it'll take a long time to be that, in a ramp state, but I think we have to work in conjunction with the district vision and the mission and almost enhance it, because I don't always agree with it as a central office person housed at the high school. There are things that I'm like, yeah, no, and it's like, but I can use my role and I can use the counselors towards helping them revamp what they're trying to do too, and be a voice of school counseling as part of a district's goal, which is hard, but I like it.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it fun sometimes, that it is hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
It is.
just thinking outside the box, and Laura always laughs at me, but sometimes it's fun to market. As we said, it's one of our favorite things to do. And when we talk about it, we talk about kind of like how it's when you see a Pepsi can, those colors and that emblem is Pepsi. And so to create that, and now you have Canva and you have all these tools that are great to create all these pieces. And so even even getting, we used to say business card and now we say, dot. So,
Yeah.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a business card that you scan, and there's different ones of those, and they're as inexpensive as anything. So you always have that with you. And yeah, this is, I don't know if y'all can see this, but on the back of I don't think we'll see it. I have a scanning code. So yeah, a little code. So even using scanning codes to take your people back to your maybe your site, your website, or your where they can find you, and using those. I don't think we're using enough of this new technology to make it easier for ourselves. So we say, because part of the ASCA model is your advisory and getting outside your school and using those tools to share with people out in the community what you're doing. And so just a QR code or a dot or whatever you call it, or a business card that you've created is part of that marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And getting school counselors to think differently and to tell what they're doing. Because if you don't tell what you're doing, then other people assume what you're doing, and it's usually not as much as you're doing. So it's important that and it advocates for school counselors when we tell if we tell other educators what we are doing. So, yeah.
Well, I know that you touched on this a little bit, but to the counselor who's listening to this and saying, I am already doing so much, I barely have time to go to the bathroom during the day. Why is this something that I should spend my time doing? What would you say to them?
So I think that kind of goes back to the comment before regarding like other people defining what you do. And I'm actually thinking back to like more than 12 years ago when I was a school counselor in the comprehensive high school. And one of the things it's funny that I'm even thinking about this, but one of the things that they had asked us to do, the admin, was do bulletin boards. Like every counselor needs to do like a bulletin board. And at that time, like I was just worried about what my current counselors are worried about, which is like the testing rosters and this and that. I'm like, I don't have time to do a bulletin board. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're giving me all these tasks and like, you want me to like pretty something up? Like, I can't, I'm just trying to get to work and get this done. Like all these little clerical jobs that I didn't know I had to do when I was doing my graduate program. And so then I remember the coordinator of the department was like, no, but sweetie, we have to, this is also part of what we have to do. And I fought her and I fought everyone. And I'm like, no, there's too much work to do. And now, like years later, over a decade later, when I'm actually leading my own counselors and I'm trying to tell them, no, but you got to display what you do. You got to demonstrate it. They tell me, well, when do you want me to do this? Like, I don't have time. And I'm like, it's finally like full circle that I'm like, but you have to, because it's the only way that everyone outside of here, whether it be our principals and VPs or it be our superintendent and assistant superintendent, that's the only way they'll be able to not give you all these clerical things to do, or at least not make it a priority, and also kind of make this a priority too, like all this other stuff that you're really trained to do.
Yes.
So it's almost like I'd have to tell that story to convince that counselor who's listening.
But see, isn't that great that you have that story, because you can see both sides of that, right?
I have one more question. Thinking about helping somebody market their program, what is the frequency that you would suggest that material gets posted or sent out?
So I would say if it's something that's digital, and I actually assign the role to one of my counselors who's into that stuff. Like she's into Canva and she's into Twitter and she's into all that stuff. So it's easy for her. I usually give her stuff. I know it's the beginning of the year, but I usually give her stuff whenever we have an event, which is, maybe once a month or so. But I try, especially, I would say the answer is seasonal, because towards the end of the year, when we have more scholarships and stuff being awarded, she's posting a lot more. Towards the beginning of the year, it's a little bit less because everyone is so busy with other stuff and they're just trying to get settled with like schedules and tests and college applications and stuff like that. But I would definitely say at least you should be posting once, twice, or 3 times a month, maybe 1 to 3 times a month on all your social media, so people are seeing it and encouraging others to follow. If you can do more, that would be great. If it's something like pictures and things, those are really easy because you could just caption them. But if it's something that's like a design, I know that takes a lot of time for her because she does such a good job, but it does take time. That I would say, the frequency would probably be less. My dream is to have like a newsletter or something where I can like mail out. I know I can't assign that to the counselors right now because they'll resign, but like eventually, I've had to advocate a lot just to get additional counselors, and I finally have. When I started, it was 3, and now I have 5 at the high school. So it took a lot, a lot of no's to get to the yes. But just getting them is like such a win for me. So now I'm like, if I could get more, I could like help them balance their time. Maybe I can give them a task like, doing a newsletter that we can mail out. The town, I think this town, although they are into the digital thing, it's kind of like a blue collared industrial type of town in terms of past generations. So they appreciate like hard copies of stuff. And so as an example, we have our college and career night next week. A lot of events that we do, I just do staples, save the dates. I print them and I get reimbursed for it. So I just do that and I send it to like all the seniors. So it's something that comes in the mail that they have to open, and they put it on their fridge, and they remember that this is happening. So sometimes it's like the digital and the paper copy. You kind of have to do both, and it's based on like the timing of everything. But like when I first started, I remember the college and career invite that I did. I put it on Instagram. I printed a copy. I sent it home. And my secretary was like looking at her Instagram, and she saw a student had taken a picture of the hard copy and put it on their Instagram. So I thought that was really cute, because I was like, oh, look, they are opening the envelope. This is great. And they're taking a picture of the hard copy and posting it. They're helping me. So you never know.
Talk about full circle. I mean, that's
Yes,
full circle.
yes.
That is so funny.
So
Well,
yeah.
is there anything that we have not asked or talked about that is something that's important to you? And it may not even be about this article. Is there something that you're passionate about now, or your next adventure, or what you're going to try to get into next? Or
I mean, like, I feel like individually I'm doing a lot for advocacy with writing and presentations and, you know, various things. But my goal is to get my counselors to get to that point. You know, like I'm good with what I have and what I've done, but I really want them to feel a little more inspired. So I try to model it. But I think my goal now is for them to feel courageous enough to self-define. And I don't think they're there yet, you know, and I think it'll take time. You know, people worry about their jobs and stuff, you know, and I get it. I mean, I'm I'm lucky and I'm unlucky. I'm unlucky because a lot of times I'm an island. I'm a administrator at a school, but I'm part of central office. But nobody agrees with me, so it's like nobody gets it. So I'm often fighting my own battle. But I'm lucky because I could see all the sides to everything. I could see district and I could see school level. I don't worry about challenging anyone because of my position, but my counselors do. And I need them to kind of be like okay with being a little fearless, you know, and not being okay with advocating for what they've been trained for and doing the right thing for kids, and understanding that, you know, it's okay to revive what you learned in grad school. Like, it's not a sin. You don't have to just do what the bosses tell you. You know, they don't always know what we do. We have to show them. So
yeah, that's good.
yeah.
That is good. It sounds like you're a little spitfire.
I am so inspired. I know.
I know it. She's very tiny, but it sounds like
Yeah.
you had a wallop.
I knew that we were getting a superstar, but I really did not know that you were such a wealth of information.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I'm just really so impressed and
I
inspired.
am too. And thank you for what you're doing for school counselors across the nation, because you're advocating for one, you're advocating for all, and sharing this with us today. We appreciate that, because you didn't have to do this today with us, but we do appreciate your time and your knowledge, and for your courage, and for your pushing and helping your people and helping us. So all of those school counselors that you get to work with, that sounds like that would be kind of neat, but kind of scary too. So it's a lot. But thank you so much, Sweety, for coming on. And that sounds so Southern, doesn't it?
It
Thank
does.
you. I'm saying it as your name. I'm not being like, I'm at the truck stop going, okay, Sweety, I need some more tea. I'm not doing it like that. I'm like, thank you, Sweety. That's your name. Yes,
I
yes.
appreciate the opportunity and for being able to speak. I appreciate it.
I can't wait to see you again, and we will get our friend, and we'll all, next time we're at ASCA, let's try to see each other in person
Okay, sounds good.
again.
Well, I tell you, I'm loving me some Sweetie.
I know. It is.
And not just because I love to say her name.
Yeah. It's such a needed topic, and it's one of those things with all the heaviness that we deal with, and especially, you know, as we get further in the school year, the heaviness seems to increase. It's good to focus on those things that we do well, and to advertise, I guess, those things that we do well. And
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked about it during the episode, but you're not bragging on yourself. You're bragging on your program and what your school community and, you know, those stakeholders have helped it to become.
Well said. And we have a great chapter on branding, which is part of promoting your program. And it's really the chapters about promoting your program, but we go into some fun things about being creative and actually choosing fonts and color schemes and going, you know, if you want to take it that far, and then where to take it, how to do it. So we have a great chapter in our book. if we haven't told you about our book in the last 5 minutes.
I think it's been a few minutes since we've talked about our book, or can we say shined a light on our book?
Oh, full circle.
But that is a fun chapter because it's a fun topic. And, I dabbled in marketing in college when I got my
Oh,
first
my
degree in
word. Here we
business.
go again.
Brag, brag, brag. But that was my favorite. Those were my favorite classes when I was getting my undergraduate degree. And because it is just about, like, in our book, we talk about, like you said, making the colors go together and figuring out what it is that you like. We've got a fun little quiz, like what kind of, I don't know that we do it in our book. We may do it in our course about, like, what colors are you drawn to and what font style are you drawn to and things like that I just think are fun. Like, I always
They
liked
are.
those quizzes in, like, 17 magazine back when I was younger to find out what kind of personality style you have.
Do they still
I
have
like
17
that.
magazine?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Hmm.
I don't know either.
Well, any last words and testimony?
I would that you would go through your routine of locking, lumping, and all the things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can rate and review our podcast. And we say that every week. And I think sometimes maybe people just think, oh, okay, it's the end of the podcast, I'm going to cut it out. Which, let me just say, the last episode that we recorded, if you cut it out right then you missed some of my daughter and some of her funny things that she was saying after that whole, stuff that we say there at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I wanted to read some of the most recent reviews that we've gotten, just because, like, these people are taking the time to actually review it. And it really makes our day so much better whenever we get to read these things. So this is from Counselor Fondra, and I'm guessing that it is Sweet Fondra that we had on our podcast a few weeks ago. If you didn't listen to that episode, it was about play therapy and incorporating that into school counseling. So,
I loved that episode.
Wasn't
Loved
that a great one?
Yeah.
So she said, I love counselor accents. When I'm in a slump or just looking for fresh ideas, Laura and Kim always deliver. And she put my name first, and I just really appreciate that. And they are so funny. I always look forward to the next episode.
Oh, I love that. I love being called funny.
I know. Counselor Sandy said, she was talking about the end of the year episode that we did. She said, loved this one. Just needed to hear from like-minded school counselors, not in the beginning in my career, but just to hear others think like me. That might scare you. That's what she said. No, actually, Counselor Sandy, it endears you to us even more. So we love that.
Yes.
But thank you guys for leaving those comments and actually, like, taking the time. We appreciate the stars that people give us, but we also appreciate the personal messages that you send us. So just thought I'd read a couple of those to boost our own ego.
And we need it, in constant need of the boost.
You can't,
as is everyone.
Enough. Okay, so you can do like Counselor Sandy and Counselor Fondra and actually leave a review, which helps us, even if it's a negative one. I'd say that's constructive criticism.
Don't read it to me.
I wish I hadn't said that. It would actually send us into a depression spiral if you leave a negative one. So please don't. I don't want to encourage that. So just leave us a positive one. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
That is so funny.
Also, you can purchase our new book, Growing Your Program for School Counselors. It's available on Amazon. So go purchase that. And you can also leave a stellar review for that. Don't leave a negative one. And what else can you do? You can follow us on Instagram. You can like us on Facebook and follow all of our shenanigans. We're going to be
and shenanigans they are.
Yes. And we're going to be speaking in a lot of places virtually and also in person. So check with your state school counseling group and see, hey, is Counselor Accents come in to speak here? Because there are a few places that were coming to speak. And if not, then let us know and we'll come to your state.
Yeah, we love to travel.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay. Till next time.